Well, I'm sold on e-bikes. As a longtime cyclist and motorcyclist, I've always seen a clear distinction between the two, but modern e-bikes blur that line quite a bit. You want to hear a shocker? This thing has 3 times the torque of Brooks' Honda CRF 300L Rally. Himiway Bikes claims 80 Nm of torque, which translates to 59 pound-feet. Brooks' bike puts down about 20 pound-feet. Oh, and the Himiway is just about 1/5 the weight and price. Lighter and more powerful than any old-school moped, this thing is an improvement in every way. And it reminds me of my childhood. A lot of our views of the world are set when we are children. In my case, the setting being a town named Giżycko in the northeast of Poland in the early 80s. It was and still is a quaint tourist town located in the heart of the Masurian Lakes, and I remember growing up with the kind of freedom that today's kids only dream about. I rode my little bike all over that town and even into the surrounding forest, and along with my friends explored most of the area on 2 wheels. I was pretty young, between 6 and 8, and looked up to the older kids who got around on far more adult conveyances. You see, if you were over the age of 12, you could get yourself a permit to ride around on a moped, and that's what all the really cool kids did. There were all kinds of mopeds, basically bicycles with 50cc 2-stroke motors that were capable of reaching at least 40 km per hour or 25 miles per hour. Some, like the Komar or the mini-moto-like Motorynka, were Polish. Others, like the motorcycle-esque Java Mustang, were from Czechoslovakia and could even hit the big 60 km per hour, the speed limit on the local roads. I remember watching the cool kids motoring around on these and being tremendously envious. Someday I would have my own moped. Well, at the age of 9, I moved to Canada with my family and forgot all about mopeds as they were not a thing in Toronto. But now, with the advent of e-bikes, they are starting to become a thing. Himiway, an e-bike manufacturer, recently sent me their fat bike cruiser to test, and quite frankly, I couldn't help to think back to those childhood years. The top speed? You guessed it, 40 km per hour. I was amazed at how functional these things are and doubly amazed by the very impressive price and range. So, should you spring the $1,600 US bucks for one of these? Stay tuned to find out, and if you're enjoying this content, please consider hitting those like and subscribe buttons to help out the channel. Big fancy electric motorcycles have had a rough time of it so far. Bramo got bought up by Victory and then shelved indefinitely. Harley's Livewire did not sell well. And while Zero Motorcycles, a fully electric brand, has established itself, it's definitely not considered a top seller. One problem that electric motorcycle makers have not figured out is how to interest more riders in their products. And no wonder. Charging up to $30,000 for a bike that has a theoretical 100-mile range, and much shorter than that in practice, does not seem a winning strategy, especially in places without quick charge infrastructure. Seriously, no one wants to draw big money on a bike that will give them range anxiety every time they want to have a bit of fun. And this is where e-bike companies seem far better positioned to appeal to a mass market. At their core, electric bikes are most perfectly suited for commuting, especially in cities. They don't need a huge range to do this, and despite being relatively heavy compared to bicycles, can be stored in places motorcycles can't, and charged overnight from your wall socket. In effect, they solve the problem electric motorcycles have struggled with since their inception, having a use case. Now, a city dweller without a motorcycle or even a car license can buy an e-bike that will run them to work and back, never require an oil change, insurance, registration, or any of the expensive gear motorcyclists need, and commute to work on it for the cost of charging the battery. Basically nothing. Additionally, they can have some fun on the weekend and stay in shape as a bonus. These bikes appeal to folks who are older or live in extremely hilly areas where riding a bicycle is not realistic, or live in an apartment without a parking spot and want to keep their vehicle inside. Maybe they work for a company that's cool enough to let them bring their bike into the office and park it beside their beanbag chair. There are lots of people who need vehicles like this. Who needs a $30,000 Livewire when a Himiway cruiser costs $1,600 bucks US? The bike arrived lightly disassembled in a box that had taken some damage. The bike inside was undamaged except for a couple of scratches on the plastic fenders, and was easy to put together for me because I'm a long-time cyclist. If you have less experience with bikes, you should consult a YouTube tutorial before diving in. Seriously nice looking bike. It matches the Honda Rebel back there. First impressions, the aluminum frame was welded well, the bike looks premium with the wood accent on the luggage rack, the display is large and easy to read, the seat looks comfy, the 7-speed Shimano Altus components are budget, but this bike costs a fraction of what most e-bikes cost. The hub motor in the back wheel produces 750 watts of power, which equals just over 1 horsepower. But more impressively, delivers the aforementioned 80 Newton meters or 59 pound-feet of torque right from idle. For reference, 750 is a lot of watts, more than any pro cyclist could push out over the course of a race. A weak point on the cruiser are the brakes, which are cable operated and rather squishy. It took some adjusting on my end to make sure that these didn't rub on the pads and bleed power, thus reducing battery range. The brakes did their job fine, but if you're in the market for one of these, you may want to step up to the Himiway Zebra, which gives you a bit more range and more powerful, less squishy hydraulic brakes. It's $400 more expensive, but the hydraulic brakes and several other upgrades are well worth the still low $2,000 price tag. The forks on the cruiser come with a lockout switch to prevent them from bouncing on smooth surfaces and with preload adjustment. They work well on bumpy gravel roads and I had no complaints. The seating position has some adjustment, and although Himiway claims that the bike will fit riders from 5'2" to 6'4", if you're in a 6-foot or taller club, you'll probably have to spring for a longer seat post, as I found the highest adjustment was just about right for me at 5'11.5" barefoot. Okay, so I got a slight bend in my leg, which is about the proper pedaling position, and when I get off you can see that the seat post is right at the lockout, right at the highest level it can be. Any higher and it wouldn't be recommended. So the seat post is maximum for a guy my height. Get a diameter 30.4 long post to fit the bike properly. I also found the bars a bit too close and would recommend that taller riders flip the stem to lengthen and lower them a bit. If this position is still too cramped, the seat can be slid backwards, and Himiway offers an accessory adjustable stem. For shorter riders or riders who like a lower bar, the cruiser has 3 spacers under the stem that can be relocated above it to substantially drop the bars. With a small investment, the Himiway cruiser can fit a wide range of riders, but the current bike as equipped is good up to 6 feet tall, about 183 centimeters. For a rider Brooke's size, she's 5'6.5" or 169 centimeters tall. The bike fit perfectly and she found the riding position to be roomy and comfortable. The quick adjust seat is handy as it allows for an easy change in seat height, but riders living in cities where theft is an issue may want to replace this part with a regular Allen bolt clamp to deter people from simply undoing the lever and walking off with your seat, seat post and clamp. Otherwise, you have to take these with you whenever you leave your bike locked up. Another impressive feature of the bike is the battery, which is a 48-volt 17.5 amp-hour Samsung LG lithium-ion unit. Generally a higher capacity than similarly priced competition, most of which run 14 amp-hour batteries. The big question everyone always asks about e-vehicles is, what is the range? And I don't really have a straight answer for you. The range depends on how much you weigh, how hilly you ride, what level of motor assist you use, and how much you pedal to help the motor turn over. The Himiway Cruiser comes with 5 pedal assist modes, with level 1 allowing for about 22 kilometers per hour, level 2 getting up to 26, level 3 reaching 32, level 4 36, and level 5 about 40. These are the speeds you can expect on the flat. As with any engine, on steeper hills the speed decreases. Disclaimer: from the factory the Cruiser has a top speed of 36 kilometers per hour, but you can access many videos on YouTube which show you how to unlock more speed, up to 40 kilometers per hour on this year's model. This is not strictly legal in many countries which require speed limits on electric bikes, so check your local laws. Wink wink, nudge nudge. The difference to riding a regular bike, especially up steep hills, is astounding. This is a 1.7 kilometer climb that averages about 10% and tops out at 14. Brooke rode up this hill so fast the drone couldn't keep up and lost her. And this is a climb that hits 20% for a good long while and tops out at a quad-burning 24%. Reminds me of those old Honda Super Cup videos from the 60s. In each pedal mode, soft pedaling engages the motor, which then does its thing. You can choose to push the pedals hard, which saves some battery and gives you a workout, but when you get tired you can simply spin easy and the motor will take care of business. And if you don't want to pedal, the twist throttle on the right handlebar, just like a motorcycle, will engage the motor and run it at 40 km per hour or less if you don't twist all the way. The throttle is particularly handy when you're stopped on a steep rise and need to get the bike started uphill. So what kind of ranges did we get out of the battery? For reference, the bike weighs 72 pounds, Brooke weighs about 120, and I'm in the 180 pound neighborhood. Plus we carried all kinds of camera equipment, water, and a drone when riding. Brooke's low weight makes hills easier for the bike's electric motor, and with her pedaling on assist levels 1 to 3, she was easily able to hit Himiway's claimed 60-mile or 100-kilometer range, even on very hilly terrain. I was able to get to 100k while pedaling hard, and 45 kilometers on throttle alone on a very hilly course that consisted of pavement and ATV trails of various difficulties. On a flatter paved course, I have a feeling that 50 or even 60 kilometers is achievable on throttle alone. Speaking of off-road, of course I hit the trails on this bike. Now, the Himiway Cruiser, despite being marketed as an all-terrain fat bike, is not really a mountain bike. The front suspension is basic and the rear suspension is your spine. It's a hardtail. Still, I rode some ATV trails, both flat and easy, as well as some gnarly ones, and as long as you stand up on the pedals over the bumpy stuff, similar to what you would do on a dirt bike, the Cruiser rolls over most obstacles. You can use the throttle for this kind of terrain so that you don't need to pedal while standing. Speaking of which, I found the throttle easy to modulate and progressive. Twist it a bit, you get partial power. Twist it all the way, you get the full 40. Other details? Handling on and off-road is neutral and predictable. On downhill runs, I hit over 60 km per hour and found no untoward wobbles or drama. The fat tires rolled over everything they encountered and handled turns on pavement and dirt well. The knobs on the tires are definitely not aggressive but still manage to plow through deep sand. The battery takes about 8 hours to charge from completely empty to full. The lights work well, with the backlight blinking when the brakes are applied. Application of the brakes also cuts the motor, which totally makes sense. The bell integrated into the left brake lever is cool, but will be harder to replace than a standalone bell if it breaks. Generally, for the price, this is a serious piece of kit. Yep, the Himiway Cruiser is impressive in almost every regard. Go to the Specialized or Trek website and look up the prices of modern bicycles, and price tags over $10,000 are common, electric motor or no. To deliver this much bike to the consumer for $1,600 US is ridiculous. The finish, the power and performance, the range, the smart looking display, the ease of use. We had a lot of fun on this bike and were able to quickly and reliably ride to pretty faraway destinations, see some beautiful places, do some shopping, and easily climb hills that can be pretty brutal without electric power. I can see how this bike would make an excellent commuter, shopping bike, weekend tour, or runabout. It's a good vehicle for practical as well as pleasure applications and gives the owner an excuse to get outside and get as much exercise as they choose without dreading every hill on their route. Are there things I would improve on the Cruiser? Yes. As stated earlier, brakes. They're not terrible, but for a 72-pound bike, I'd pay extra for hydraulic, like the wicked powerful ones on my non-electric mountain bike, which cost more than twice as much as the Cruiser, by the way. Water bottle holder. This bike doesn't have one. There is a step-through version that does, but quite frankly, I think you can totally put some mounts on the top tube to attach a cage. Or you can buy a water bottle mount for the handlebar if you want. Another issue I encountered was with mounting panniers. I own some nice bags that we've used for touring, and while the bike rack provides a handy bar for hanging the bags, it doesn't provide an attachment point for the hook below. On the right side, I removed an Allen bolt to attach the bag. On the left side, there is no attachment point. I ended up taking out the bolt that holds the rack, hooking the bag onto it, then screwing the bolt in over the hook. But this is not an ideal solution. Finally, the claim that the bike will fit a rider who is 6'4" or 193 centimeters tall is exaggerated. It will fit, but for proper leg extension, a new seat post and possibly stem will be necessary. These items are not expensive, but for a proper fit for tall folks should be factored in. Himiway sells accessory stems but may also want to keep some posts in stock and either customize the bikes as they're sold based on a rider's inseam or sell the longer stems as accessories. As much as I like the Cruiser, I think for road riding the Himiway Zebra is the better bike. It has even greater range with a 20 amp hour battery and includes hydraulic brakes, which solve one of my main issues with the Cruiser. At $2,000 US, the Zebra is still a slamming deal against comparable e-bikes that routinely run in the $6,000 plus neighborhood. However, my personal choice in the lineup would be the Himiway Cobra full suspension mountain bike, which also comes with a longer range battery, hydraulic brakes, and adds full suspension for $2,400 US. I've seen full suspension mountain bikes costing 20,000 Canadian, so the Cobra would be my reasonably priced choice for riding the streets or the trails that I normally do on our dual sport motorcycles. So it's safe to say that Brooke and I really like e-bikes, and the Himiway Cruiser in particular. Running this thing on some of the remote trails and beautiful roads around here took me back to my exploring days as a kid. E-bikes have replaced the traditional mopeds and have achieved tremendous popularity, especially among city dwellers. On a recent visit to Ottawa, I spotted more e-bikes than regular bicycles, and demand for these things is still on the rise. I can see them gaining even more traction in the developing world, where they could serve as practical family transportation. And with this bike, what you get for the price is very impressive. This thing basically does the job of a mini moto, scooter, or moped for a lower price and without the need for a license, insurance, registration, gasoline, or expensive riding gear. Plus, it's quiet and gives you some exercise if you want it. If you want to check out Himiway, I'll include a link below. So, do you agree that e-bikes have more use cases than e-motorcycles? What do you think the future of motorcycling will be? Gas, electric, or both? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching and ride safe.
If you're interested in any of the gear that Brooke and I wear or use, or the camera equipment we use to film this channel, the links are below. Everything listed there was bought with our own money, and we are not sponsored by any company. However, the links below are affiliate links, and the channel is paid a small amount for referring you to shop at no additional cost to you. We do not recommend any products that we are not satisfied with ourselves, but we do strongly urge you to do your research and select the correct size for items like helmets and clothing. As always, thanks for watching. Your support is greatly appreciated. Please hit that subscribe button, give the video a thumbs up, and leave a comment below. And whatever you ride, enjoy it. Wave at other bikers no matter what they're riding. We're all part of a brotherhood and sisterhood. Keep the rubber side down, shiny side up, and may the spokes be with you.